Hello everyone, I'm Valerie and I'm a mom of one. I'm a first time mom and my son is 2 months old, and I'm doing this video for all the first time moms that are struggling, that have a lot of questions, that are lost. I live away from my family, so my help has been very limited. So most of the things I had to figure out by myself or just um, guide my way through it and just kind of take it day by day. It's been really hard, but I've gathered a few things that I feel would have helped me if I knew in the beginning. Some things that would have definitely helped my mental state in the beginning, because the first month, I can tell you, was so hard, and I feel like we've both come a long way as far as sleep. So this video is gonna go over some tips for sleeping through the night, some tips for gas, like babies who have a lot of gas and stuff. Let's see what else. Activities to do for awake time, and some general tips at the end of the video. So the first thing that I'm gonna talk about is sleep, because sleep is something that is so important for you and your baby, that if you become sleep deprived, which you will, like 1010%, you will be sleep deprived. But by watching this video, my hope is that your sleep deprivation will be shorter, like a shorter amount of time versus most people who, So the first thing is routine. I know people say, oh my God, start a routine, but this is so important, because this way your baby will know that sleep is coming. Obviously, they're not going to catch on to it in the beginning because they are still so little. Like, my son is only 2 months. So my son goes to sleep at 10:30, gets up at 4, I feed him, and goes right back to sleep, and then wakes up again at 7. So he really has just one night waking. And it's not a night waking where I'm there for like hours trying to put him back to sleep, or I'm just up for so long. It's literally feed, burp, and that's it. He knows he has to go right back to sleep. Since he's so little, like, I don't expect him to fully sleep through the night without a feeding, but I know that if I keep doing it with time, maybe 3-month mark, fingers crossed, he will drop that 4 a.m. feeding, and then we'll just have a regular night schedule. So his routine is at 9:30, I take him to the shower and I bathe him. And after I bathe him, I already have his pajamas set out on the bed with the diaper. I have the lights turned off, and I have a night light on, as well as a fan that it blows away from him, but it has a white noise option, so I do put that, and I put it very far from his bassinet. So once he gets out of the bath from the bathroom, we walk in the room, it's already set how it should be for nighttime. Another thing is, this is what he would wear for nighttime, so something completely covered, versus this is something he would wear during daytime. So he's not like snuggled in the daytime, he's very like feeling everything. Obviously he's not cold. I do live in Florida, so I don't have that issue of like cold weather or anything like that. It's fine here. So I would basically dress him, put his pamper on, feed him, burp him, put him to sleep. That's it. I have no problem putting him to sleep. He doesn't wake up, or when I put him, transfer him in the bassinet, that's been, consistency. So he pretty much knows his routine at this point. He knows that, there is no waking up before, 4 a.m. There is no like crying, none of that. Thank God. So another thing, aside from the routine for nighttime, so younger babies should have a later bedtime to get a longer stretch through the night. So, as you know, most babies eat every 2 to 3 hours. So, for that exact reason, their stretch at night doesn't last very long. So, if you have a bedtime that's like at 7 or 8, your stretch is going to be 4 or 5 hours after. And then after that point, they're going to wake up every 2 3 hours. So, for example, my son sleeps at 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. He wakes up around 3:45, 4, so he gets like a 5.5 hour stretch. Then at 4 he's up, and then when does he wake up again? At 7. So 5, 6, 7. So at that point he would be waking up every 2 to 3 hours. So younger babies, later bedtime for that reason, because if you do a early bedtime at 7, for example, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, that's it. You've capped out. All they're going to sleep, and pretty much you'd be up every 2 hours. So later bedtime for younger babies. So during the day, you obviously have to feed your baby every 2 to 3 hours, which is normal for, young newborns and infants. So after the feeding, have a wake time. Then do a nap. Offer the nap. I've noticed that this works very well because when you associate the feeding with sleep, they're not going to know the difference between when I have to sleep for long periods of time and when I have to sleep for short periods of time. So during the day, after they eat, burp them, you know what I mean? You can do a wake time, which I will talk about later, some things to do for a wake time. And then you would offer the nap. I already talked about setting the tone. So for nighttime, I have my white noise fan. I don't have any type of light when he's done eating. I do need the night light so that I can see. So it's very, very dim. It's nothing bright. So he has his pajamas at night, the onesie during the day. I never swaddled him. So that's another thing that a lot of moms do, which if it works for you, literally keep doing it. The swaddle, I never got him used to it, only because my logic was when the swaddle no longer becomes safe for them. So meaning when they start rolling over or when they start, being able to just move their body through the night, you cannot swaddle them any longer because it's not safe. So then you'd have to reteach them how to sleep without the swaddle. And I don't know if that takes a long time. I don't know if that kind of puts you back at square one, nor do I want to find out. So therefore, I never got him used to the swaddle. He just sleeps, like I said, with this, just a long sleeve thing. And he sleeps with a blanket, like a very thin sheet, and I do tuck it, not very tight, but I tuck it from his waist down, so it just covers his legs. That's it. Nothing from the waist up, because since it is a loose sheet, he can put it over his head, and that's a risk as well. So I don't swaddle him. He's able to take his naps. Right now he's taking a nap. He does not have a swaddle. Like I said, he's sleeping in his onesie because it is daytime. So he sleeps in something like a regular outfit for the day and the same loose sheet. That's it. So pretty much, I don't have him in a swaddle ever. So he's learned to sleep without the swaddle. For day naps, I do have some light. So for example, my bedroom door is open, so I have bright light coming in, but the actual room doesn't have any direct light in it hitting him in the face or anything like that. I would recommend just natural light for naps, like you know, because if you have like a bunch of lights on, it may be hard for them to settle down. I've noticed that with him because I was trying really hard to help him separate day and night so bad that I would just put him in right here in the living room with the light on plus the window open and be like sleep, and he would have a very hard time settling down. And it just makes sense. If you have a bunch of light on you, you're just not gonna be able to sleep right. So this is again what works for us, and what works for him. So he sleeps with just medium light for day naps. For nighttime, there is absolutely no light. There is no window. There is no night light. There is nothing. The door is shut, and that's it. Another thing, don't give up on the routine. Start from day one. I know that when they're born, they have the umbilical cord thingy, so you can't really take them like full baths, but I know you can clean them with like rags and stuff, so I would recommend starting that, because that just helps them understand that, you know, like, this is my routine for nighttime. Obviously, you're not going to get that long stretch till a little later on, but the sooner you start it, the sooner it'll happen, is what I've realized for my son. So for nap time, during the day, I try to put him asleep in the bassinet while he's still awake. So, when I know he eats awake time, then I put him for a nap. So sometimes I notice that he gets super fussy, like he doesn't want to just like sleep. So I just put the pacifier in his mouth and I cover him, you know, from the waist down again. Usually it takes him around 2 to 3 times of me having to come back in the room, put the pacifier, and then that's it. So I'm getting him used to sleep independently like that. That way, like, I know I've heard that, like, if you help them sleep, like, learn how to sleep independently, your nights will be better. Because if they kind of wake up a little bit, they're able to, like, settle themselves back in. And sometimes I do check on him. Like, after I put the pacifier, like, I kind of, like, peek my head through the door, and I notice that he's awake, but he's not crying. So a win is a win. If you're not crying, you know, there's nothing that I need to do. So I would do that for the daytime. You know, for nighttime, I haven't really noticed the difference putting him in the bassinet asleep versus awake, because I feed him, and most of the time he falls asleep while he's eating. He does finish the bottle for sure. But he falls asleep and I burp him and I just kind of put him already sleeping. So, you know, I would imagine that later with time, there will be a time where he will not be sleeping and I'm holding him. So these naps, him sleeping independently for these naps will benefit him in the future for when he's like a little bit older. So the daytime naps, since my son eats every 2 hours, he eats a lot every 2 hours. So some babies I know can go like a little bit longer, like up to 3 hours without eating. So you just kind of have to see like how often your baby eats. So for example, I don't let my son sleep past 2 hours. Not that he can sleep for naps. 2 hours for day naps. So if I feed him, I give him some awake time, and then he goes to sleep, that nap is not going to be more than 2 hours. Not that it ever is, because during the day, like, he kind of wakes himself up. His naps are usually around like 45 minutes to an hour. But I know some babies that can't sleep that very long stretch. You don't want to do that at all. You want to wake them up for the feeding, because this is when you get full and this is when you get woken up. And during the night, this is when you're supposed to stay sleeping. You're not going to get woken up. So you want to fill them up for the day. Fill them up every 2 to 3 hours with food, so that nighttime they're not starving, because that also can be a reason why they're waking up so much. And it's because if you let them sleep so long throughout the day, then it's like it kind of like throws off that day and night thing that they're struggling to understand. So just to cap up on everything for the sleep topic, routine. My routine with my son: bath, change, bottle, burp, bed. That's it. It's short, it's simple, and that's it. So it starts at 9:30. Usually he's already sleeping by 10:30. So it's just the routine. Set the tone for nighttime. So dark room, white noise. I put his pajamas on, and he does not have a swaddle. For the naps during the day, you feed them, give awake time, you do nap time. Obviously, if they don't want to nap, that's horrible for your mental health, but it is what it is. My son sometimes refuses his naps, and it's honestly a pain because I can't get anything done, but eventually he will nap. If they're fussing that they don't want to sleep, offer the pacifier. That's what works for him. I would really, really recommend using a pacifier because that really helps a lot. So routine, set the tone, white noise. Start from day one your routine. Use a pacifier. Don't let the day naps go past 2 hours, or a feeding without 2 to 3 hours. And basically that's it for sleep. That's what's worked for me. If always talk to your pediatrician if it's safe for your baby to be sleeping the whole night without awakening for a feed, because some babies do struggle with their weight and stuff, and they might need to be woken up to eat. So this is not medical advice. This is just what has worked for me and my son. And I'm sharing it just because I wish I would have known these things before as a first-time mom. So that's pretty much for sleep. So I'm going to start the next topic for activities for awake time. So some activities that I do with my son for awake time: definitely tummy time. You need to do this every single day. Ask your doctor how many times a day you should be doing it, but every single day, just so that they can start getting strength in their neck and in their back. I do this with my son literally when there's nothing else that I want to do with him. If I'm really tired, or you know what I mean, like it's just been a hard day, just flip him over, tummy time, and it benefits him. So tummy time very often. He does it, I want to say, like in the morning, and then he does it maybe like again like in the late morning, and then again in the afternoon. Sometimes he'll do it twice in the afternoon, but really he does it like 2 to 3 times a day. So today actually I noticed that he started putting his arm up to lift his upper body up, which is great. That way he's on his way to start solids. I know he's nowhere near solids, but it's a start. So tummy time. The simplest things can stimulate your baby during awake time. Literally talking to them. You can just talk to them. You can vent to them. That's what I do with my son. I'm like always venting to him, and he's just smiling at me, and he has no idea what I'm saying, but and then the good thing is that I'm talking to him, and then he's like babbling back to me. So you know what I mean? That's a good way to stimulate them. Changing their diaper after you feed them, just to wake them up a little bit. Changing their diaper, talking to them while you're changing their diaper. So he has this book right here, So I just let him look at it, and I'll read him the words and just let him stare at it a little bit, just go through the whole thing. That's it. Or I have this and I just turn it around for him like a million times, and he acts brand new every time he looks at it, so he likes it. This other thing that I saw, I think I saw it in the pamphlet that that his pediatrician gave me. So you get like a cotton ball, and like you kind of rub it on their face or along the arms or legs, under the feet, and they kind of get like a new sensation. And like my son loves it, like he starts smiling and stuff. Another thing that I started doing is, so whatever I eat, I get a piece of it and I let him smell it. And for some reason, he really likes when I do that. I just let him smell whatever it is that I'm gonna eat, and he likes it. He just finds it, like, amusing. So another thing is the mirror. So if you have like a little mirror, or you can just pick them up, take them to a mirror, bathroom mirror, whatever. Some babies just stare at themselves, and it's a good way to stimulate them. So those are some things to do for awake time. So another thing for awake time, babies pretty much his age that I've noticed, for example, more specifically my son, he gets fussy after being awake for a while. So when I notice that he's fussy, that he's kind of doing that like soft cry, but I know he's fed, like it's not hunger, 9 times out of 10 that's them fighting the sleep, and you need to offer the nap. And then they are going to fight the nap, is the crazy part. You need to reinforce whatever works for you. For me, for my son, it's the pacifier. That's what works. Like I said earlier in the video, I have to come back in the room 2-3 times max, then he's finally down, and that's it. Nap has begun. It's super frustrating at first when you don't know, like when you just, like you think, oh my God, they're hungry again. You feed the bottle to them, and then they're like spitting it out, and you're like literally going insane. It's babies fight the nap. That's actually a thing. So, you gotta be like consistent. You gotta be, very patient, and that's like another thing that is really hard to do, especially when you're postpartum, like few weeks and stuff. Patience, it's very hard when you're trying to deal with your own emotions and stuff. You just have to know that every day it's gonna get a little bit easier, which it has. I literally used to cry myself to sleep before, and it's gotten a lot better. So for example, my son is letting me do this video. He's sleeping. So, it does get better. It does. You just have to be consistent, and you have to stick to a routine for nighttime. And for daytime, it's kind of like knowing your baby. Like, are they hungry? Has it been the 2-3 hours, whatever? Is it too long of a wake time? Are they starting to fight the sleep? You start to put 2 and 2 together, and then hopefully this video will give you like some guidance to know what it is. So next, I'm gonna talk about another topic. This is my third and last topic, which is gas in babies. Okay, so every morning, it may not be realistic for you. Again, I'm just sharing what has helped my motherhood journey so far. So stretching, I stretch my son out every morning, every night, during the day. Like whenever I get a chance, I'm always stretching that man out. I know you've heard of the bicycle legs, where you move their legs like this. Another thing is, so you grab one foot with the arm, grab this foot with the arm, so they're kind of like folded up, not too hard, but they're just a little crunched, and you just gently rock them side to side, maybe like 5-7 times. Push the legs up, and behold, air comes out. So I stretch them out all the time. I'm always rubbing his stomach down to the side, just in a downward motion and a side motion. I'm always rubbing his stomach, and he's always, letting out gas. If that doesn't work and he's, crying and stuff like that, and I just see he's in a lot of pain and discomfort, this is what I use. It works great for me. Usually I give him like 2 doses, and then he's fine. He's letting out gases and stuff like that. Another thing is, when you're feeding them, make sure that you're burping them throughout the bottle, throughout the feeding. Do not give an entire bottle without burping, or with burping one time. You are going to get spit up, you are going to get thrown up on, and you are going to get a fussy baby, and that is what we're trying to avoid. So burp throughout the bottle. Burp, even if they don't burp, at least having them upright or sitting down, you're giving them a chance to let the milk fall down to their stomach. And a lot of times my son will burp, sometimes he doesn't burp, but the spit up is reduced because I have him up here just letting the milk fall. Another thing, tummy time. Actually, I noticed that when he has a bloated stomach and I put him on his stomach starts to deflate as he starts to fart or burp. So that also is another benefit to doing tummy time. So if you're having a hard time during the feeding, and that I've noticed sometimes happens, where my son is drinking and then out of nowhere he starts like squirming around or whatever, I burp him. If nothing comes out, I will start to stretch him softly, because when you're stretching them during the feeding, you will cause the milk to come out of their mouth. I know, because it happened to me. So stretching them constantly. The Mylicon, if it's something your doctor says it's okay, which mine says it is, use it. And burp during the feeding, tummy time, and then sit upright when you're feeding them. So you don't want them flat like this. You kind of want them a little bit elevated when they're eating. So that helps a little bit with the spit up. Okay? So another thing I forgot to mention, for bath time, this is the soap that my son uses. He loves it, and he starts yawning when he uses it. So I would suggest buying this. It helps a lot. We used to use the Johnson & Johnson. I don't know, it just didn't hit right, but this one hits. So I would recommend this one. Okay, so my son just woke up from his hour nap. So, lastly, I want to talk about some general tips. So I used to be constantly like trying to figure out the last time he ate. What I simply do is when he finishes the bottle, I start a 2-hour timer. I don't have it like I don't, feed him right when it rings or anything, but I kind of more or less know, like, okay, if he kind of wakes up from the nap crying, or if he starts crying, it's hunger. That just helps me. It may be too, anxiety inducing for other people, but for me, it's helped me. So some general tips: ask for help. You know what I mean? Like, don't try to be like, I got this, I can do this by myself, but you're also falling apart in the same sentence. So no, don't do that, because you need to show up for your baby and for yourself. And if you need help doing that, do it. If someone suggests watching the baby so you can rest or do what you want to do, and you trust them, say yes. This doesn't mean that they have to take your baby out. It can just be watching them, in the room while you do whatever you need to do. Like, sometimes if you just want to scroll on TikTok without getting up from your bed and someone offers you help, just say yes. He's hungry, so that's why he's fussing. Okay, so focus on yourself and the baby until you adjust to motherhood. So what I mean by this is like the dishes, laundry, all of that stuff. trying to clean up because, you know, a family member is coming over, or a friend, whatever, trust me, don't do that. If they're coming, they gotta accept your house and how you are for how you are, and your house for how it is. Because at the end of the day, they're not gonna tell you anything to your face. And if they are gonna talk about it, you're not gonna know about it. So whatever, it is what it is. And if that's the case, if they do say something about your house, you can kindly offer for them to clean it. Next, do what makes you feel best when the baby sleeps. A lot of people say sleep when the baby sleeps. Child, if you want to go outside and you want to do nothing, you can do that. Or if you know what I mean, want to, like, I don't even know, like, whatever your hobby is, do it. You know, like, you don't always have to sleep when the baby sleeps. Like, okay. Another thing I do with my son is I take the baby outside once a day. Preferably in the morning. I literally just get a chair that I have outside and I sit right in front of my door. I do nothing else but that in the morning. That's obviously after he's been fed, so he's not being feral outside. And he enjoys it. You know, I enjoy it too. It honestly, it sounds really simple, but it makes a world of a difference when you're not enclosed in the same walls all day, every day. So I would just sit outside for a little bit if, you know, if you can. As long as your baby is fed, do not feel bad about breastfeeding. Your baby will be just fine. Do you remember, or do you know that formula is made to feed babies? So if you are using formula to feed your baby, you are doing great. Whether you breastfeed, whether you formula, whether you pump, whether you do all of them, it does not matter. If your baby's fed, you're doing fine. It does not matter. It doesn't. Like, formula is made to feed children. I don't get it. I don't get the shame. Another thing, with awake time, you don't have to stimulate them every awake time. Literally, sometimes I just put my son in the swinger with classical music and I call it a day. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just gotta do what it do, because, you know, you can't give all of yourself every time. Sometimes you need a break. So if you can't read to them, freaking make them into like Albert Einstein, you know, like, you're not gonna do that. It's okay to put them in a bouncer for like a little bit while you just sit down or you lay down, whatever. So that's all I have for this video. I hope that what I said helps. Again, none of this is medical advice, medical expertise. This is just a young mom in the trenches trying to help you out of the trenches. So that's it for this video. I hope you liked it. Yes, so I have to go feed my son. The reality of motherhood. Yeah, so I hope you liked this video. Let me know if it works for you, if anything I said helps you, or if you need any other tips or advice. If I got it, I'm gonna put you on. All right, see you next time.